here today with Stuart Naismith. And if you don't know him, then you clearly have not been on YouTube. He is a YouTube sensation and he does a lot of work with STEM with Mr. N. He's also one of our authors for the book Empowering Women in STEM. He has done an amazing chapter, and I always talk about your chapter, Stuart, when I talk about the book, because I absolutely loved the way that you put everything in the chapter, things that you were talking about. I'm trying not to give it away too much, but you did a great job with the chapter. Like I loved your inspiration behind it and everything else. So welcome to this session with us.
Well, thank you for having me, and thank you for the very kind words about my chapter.
Oh yes, definitely. It was refreshing to read that chapter. Like that's one of the ways that I could describe it. But tell us a little bit about your job now. You know, what do you do?
So I am a primary teacher in Scotland, so um, I have to teach the entire curriculum. So that's your literacy, numeracy, social studies, health and wellbeing, etc. Everything that's in the curriculum. But I tend to specialise in the STEM education aspect of things. So I do a lot of STEM activities and topics with my classes, but I also like to share ideas for topics with the other classes within my school and with colleagues who are not in the same school as me.
Mm-hmm.
So I will give people ideas about activities they can do for different topics, or even just give them topics that they can do and point them towards resources, whether that's planners I've made or other planners that are out there, and help them also make connections to other topics that they're doing. As part of all of this, I've organised STEM weeks in my school, such as World Space Week, or even just a STEM-focused week where I get STEM professionals in to work with the classes, so they can hear about STEM careers from people that are actually doing it and doing some activities with these people.
Yeah.
I also do STEM assemblies for the whole school.
Mm-hmm.
So usually about once a term, I will stand in front of the whole school, although it's actually done in 3 assemblies because of the
Yeah.
size of our school. But
Mm-hmm.
I will have a range of experiments that I do in front of the children to demonstrate things to them. But I always get their predictions and their thoughts about what's going
Mm-hmm.
to happen, why things have happened,
Mm.
to try and encourage that scientific thinking and the language that they use. So
Yeah.
that's what I do as my day job. But
As your day job.
as you mentioned there, I'm also very active on YouTube and across social media as STEM with Mr. N. That's why I've got my
Mm-hmm.
sign up
Oh
behind me
yeah.
here. And on there, what I do predominantly is showcase low-cost science experiments or STEM activities that are fully explained, fully demonstrated,
Mm-hmm.
and are easy to resource and easy to replicate, whether that's at home or in school. So again, that's used there to support educators. Some of that is teachers in schools, but I also like to point home educators in the direction of the resource to help with the STEM education. I interview STEM professionals, again, so children and young people can hear from these people and hear about the various professions that are out there. And then I do just some other interesting videos, like I've got robotics and coding videos,
Oh yeah.
or just some fact videos. And I've just finished a series of 100 scientists who influenced the world, where I looked at 10 different categories of scientists and picked
Nice.
really influential people. Again, just so people out there can hear about the people that have had an impact in our world. But I also tried to make sure that it was diverse and not
Mm-hmm.
just the typical sort of white male
Yes.
approach to it. So I wanted to make sure there was ethnic variety and gender
Mm-hmm.
variety, which was hard and
Yeah.
quite tricky in some categories, but I managed it in every category, just not always to the extent that I wanted. So yeah, that's kind of what I do as
Nice.
a hobby, just to help further inspire people to get involved in STEM.
Oh yeah, and you are doing such a great job, Stuart. I know, like in your chapter, you talk about being a car salesman before and then just changing trajectory into this new, I want to say, as a STEM world. into this new world where you can help so much more people. So tell us a little bit about why you wrote that chapter. Like, I know why you wrote the chapter. I read it. It was great. So I want to hear it from you though.
Well, yeah, as you said, you know, I was working in car sales and finance,
Mm-hmm.
and then decided to completely change job and become a primary teacher. And while I was training to be a teacher, we had a lecturer that came in every week and did science for the primary classroom lessons with us and showed us activities. And you know, one day I asked her a question about something. She didn't know the answer, so she went away and found out for me. And after that, she just got me involved in lots of different science activities within the university and with other universities and presenting at conferences and
Mm-hmm.
just did so much to empower me to be involved in STEM education. And obviously, as I've said when describing my job, you know, that's something that I've done from the very minute I
Yeah.
qualified as a teacher. I've gone out to try and help inspire others, and all because of that lecturer. So when you approached me to write a chapter about my experience to empower other people, it was all inspired by the person that
Mm-hmm.
empowered me, Dr. Margaret Ritchie, who we sadly lost last year in 2023, very suddenly and surprisingly. But she was a perfect example of the power of STEM advocates.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the big driving force behind it. Um, there were secondary um, considerations behind writing it as well, such as demystifying STEM,
Yes.
because a lot of people, particularly from the primary education side of things, shy away from STEM
Mm.
education. They're a bit nervous about it. So I wanted to try and debunk some of the myths about STEM, and then also showcase the fact that like I don't have a STEM background.
Yes. I love
Um,
that.
but but that doesn't mean just because you don't have a STEM background doesn't mean you can't get involved and be out there and doing things and trying
Mm-hmm.
things. And there's really no limit to what you can do and what you can achieve. So I've gone from somebody who had absolutely no STEM background to now somebody who's won multiple awards as a
Yep.
STEM educator, and even been recognised by the UK
Mm-hmm.
Prime Minister Rishi
Yes.
Sunak for the videos that I make to inspire people. So I thought, you know, if I can do it
Mm.
with no STEM background and just with that advocate behind me and somebody encouraging me, then other people can do it. And
Yep.
hopefully that's what people take from the chapter, is a bit of inspiration that they can do it. And even if you're not a teacher, you
Mm-hmm.
can be a teacher. You can go out and, you know, whether it's your own children or
Right.
children at a club that you take your kids to or whatever, you can always teach and help inspire others. So hopefully my story in more detail in the chapter helps
Yes.
put that across and helps inspire others.
Well, you inspired me for sure. Definitely. When I read your chapter, I'm like, wow, there's a lot going on here. And there's so much to be said about, taking that leap and jumping into the STEM world and doing it for the right reason. I think that's the main thing that really caught me with that chapter because it's the passion behind it. It's about making sure that we provide for the future because we're not going to be around forever. Definitely not. And unless we help the future get them sorted and get them set, then there will be no future. So I love that you took the time and you made sure you talked, got into the STEM, you got into science, you got into all of the other different aspects of education, but it's all about the future and the future generation, making sure that they are ready because they're the ones that are going to be in charge, not us.
You're right. And part of it also as well, um, although it is a selfless thing that I do, but there is a wee selfish part of it because I am the father of three young children.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about the sort of education I want them to
Mm-hmm.
have. So I'm hopefully in some way able to provide that for other children out there
Yep.
because my children will get the benefit from having me at home. But
Mm-hmm.
obviously not everybody has a me at home.
Yeah.
So hopefully it helps inspire other children and inspire other educators so that
Yes,
when my children go into school, they're getting all of these things that I never got when I was in school.
correct. Well, start with you too, because I know I didn't have that when I was back in school for sure. But it's so great that you're able to share this information because I think a lot of times people get, and we talk about it in terms of demystifying and debunking some of the STEM myths. People hear, they think about science and they think about math and they think like, oh my God, I'm not going to be able to do that. It's ridiculously hard, but you've done a great job in terms of being able to break that down for them and have the resources available for them to help their child at home or even for the child to do that on their own. In some cases, being able to get the materials, find out more about the resources. So you're definitely making a big impact there with the stuff that you are doing. But I wanna ask you something though. What would you say to inspire some other people either to join a STEM career or if they're thinking about leaving the STEM field? Because sometimes they're like, I can't deal with this. I don't want to be in this field anymore. They want to get out. What would you say to make them stay, or in that case, or make them enter if they weren't in the STEM field before?
Well, if you're somebody who's maybe looking to enter the STEM field, what I would say to inspire those people is I would tell them about the range of opportunities
Mm,
that having a STEM qualification opens up. And this one is now it's going to kind of tie into the people that are thinking of leaving as
yeah.
well, because there are lots of opportunities out there that a STEM degree opens, whether that's in the
Mhm.
field that you have your initial qualification in, or the ability to transition.
Mm,
Now, I'm lucky enough that with what I do with YouTube, I've had the chance to speak to lots of amazing people in
yeah.
STEM. And last night I was interviewing somebody who is a patent agent, but
Mm,
their original qualification is in electronic and electrical engineering.
wow.
And they were saying that you cannot actually become a patent agent without a qualification in STEM. So
Wow.
that there's an option for somebody who's maybe
Mm-hmm.
qualified in one thing and they're perhaps not enjoying it, but
Mm-hmm.
there's other opportunities out there for them to use the knowledge that they have but apply it in a different way. And that's what that person's doing, is they're getting to read and learn about lots of different inventions as people are
Right.
submitting their patents and getting to apply their STEM skills to it.
Wow.
I also had a good friend from high school who now is out in New Zealand, but he was originally qualified and working as a pharmacist
Ah.
and was doing that for a few years, and then decided he really needed a change of career and went and requalified as an engineer. But because
Mm.
he already had a STEM qualification, he didn't need to do the full
Oh
engineering
no.
qualification because he already had transferable skills.
Good.
So there's it's a kind of double answer to the question. So if you're
Mm-hmm.
interested in going into STEM, there are all of these opportunities that can open up. And even if you start off down one track, that doesn't mean you need to stick with that track. Like my friend who was a pharmacist and became an engineer, or the person that became a patent agent, but it
Mm.
opens up lots of opportunities, not just for being able to transfer these skills, but to be able to work globally, because
Yep.
STEM skills are required globally. So it is your passport to the world, is
Mm.
having these skills that you can take and apply anywhere. So it really does open up a world of opportunities for you. And for people who are currently in the STEM field but are considering leaving, there are lots of other options out there for you to still
Yep.
use your STEM skills or retrain in a different STEM field, and keep all of those options alive for you. So even if you're becoming a bit jaded, look at what other options there are so that you don't feel like you wasted any time and you
Mm-hmm.
can still use these skills out there. But STEM skills are important. It's where most of the careers are going. It's where most of the positive change in the world is going
Mm.
to come from. It's from the STEM fields, whether it's medical advances or
Yep.
engineering advances or renewable energy. So we really need people
Yeah.
going into STEM, and the great people that we have in STEM, we really need them to stay in STEM.
Stay. Yeah, it's definitely to stay. Because if we don't, we need to be creating the future. And that's the key to creating the future. So I love what you said there, Stuart. Very, very interesting. Any last words that you have for us today? Words
Um,
of wisdom.
my final words of wisdom. I was put on the spot not that long ago when a couple of people came to my class to present me with an award, and they asked me to give a short speech in
Oh
front of
boy.
the class, which I wasn't prepared for. But I liked my off the cuff response because it was
Hmm.
natural, and it's what I would end as my final thought, which is anything you do, whether it's in STEM or not in STEM, anything you do, find something that you're passionate about,
Right.
and that's what to go for. I found my passion in STEM and have shown that, the success you can have just from passion. You don't always need the qualifications. If you are interested in something, that is where you are going to do your best work. And another one of the people I interviewed put it so much better than I could. So I keep pinching his phrase, which was along the same lines. But he'd said, find the thing that sets fire to you. And whether that's putting rockets in
Mm.
space or making pancakes, it really doesn't matter.
Yep.
But what you have passion in is what you are going to do best at.
Hmm.
So find your passion and pursue that route, because that is where you're going to find joy and fulfillment and do your best work.
Oh, I love that. I definitely love that, Stuart. Thank you so much for dropping that bit of wisdom for us and rephrasing it and putting it in that other way because that helps set fire to it and make sure that's where you follow. But thank you so much for your time because I know that we are in different time zones. So it's a little bit later for you than it is for me. So I'm gonna let you go. And I know you're a very busy guy as well.
Well, it's been a
But
pleasure speaking to you.
yes, it's always good to speak to you, Stuart. So if you haven't checked out his chapter yet, check it out. It's, I think, lucky number 7 in the book. He talks about so many more things in his chapter, but I'm gonna let you read the chapter and find out more about it. So thank you so much for your time today, Stuart, and check out Stuart's chapter and his channel, Stem with Mr. N. You can find him anywhere. All right, thank you. Bye.